remember over the years, they continued to gain weight back. And I thought, they did all this. Why on earth would they gain the weight back? Like, they had to go through a major surgery. And I remember thinking, man. And so when the doctors would come to me and say, you want to, you should have weight loss surgery, you should think about it, I'd be like, I don't think so. So on a weekly basis, I am asked by someone, whether it be a Facebook friend, someone here on YouTube, or someone literally on the street, they continue to ask me about weight loss surgery and my opinion on it, right? And so I wanted to go ahead and share that here because I know it's an important subject. It's something that comes up a lot for a lot of people, and a lot of doctors are recommending it to their patients, right? And it's been happening for years. I remember definitely during COVID and stuff, there were a lot of commercials. Like, you'd see these commercials where so one like walking in the park and she's like, I'm so glad I finally did it for myself. And so these are the things that's happening all the time. And so for those who are like, should I get weight loss surgery? What are the side effects? Is it for me? Like, what have you heard about it? What have you, the women that you've worked with who've had it before, what are their stories? What's happened? So that's what this video is about. I'm going to share with you guys, my experience, my opinion around weight loss surgery. So first of all, I have not had weight loss surgery, but about 8 years ago, I lost 120 pounds. I did it through exercise, lifestyle changes, and eating a keto and low carb lifestyle. I'm a mom of 4, and so on this channel, I share about this lifestyle, right? Living the healthiest life I can, for my children, for my husband, for myself, and working to live my best life, right? So that's what I share, and I share recipes and things like that. And if you're like, you know what, I love tips like that, I also share weekly emails and tips to folks who have signed up for my newsletter. So if you want that, go to ilekafalette.com and I'll add you to my newsletter, all right? And you'll get these weekly tips. You'll get expert advice, not just from me, but from other experts that I connect with. I send out emails from them and information around from them. And I also have them on my YouTube channel sometimes. So if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and do so because we've got some great things coming up for you. So anyway, so let's get to this weight loss stuff, right? This weight loss surgery. So after I lost 120 pounds, for about 6 years, maybe 7 years, whatever it was, I worked with thousands of women to help them on their journey, helping them lose weight, feel better, have more energy. I became a personal trainer, a weight loss coach, and a mindset coach. And I use those different tools as well as my own experience to help them achieve their goals of a healthier lifestyle. So that's what I did for a long time. And now I just share that here on YouTube. So I want to talk about weight loss surgery because a lot of my clients that I worked with before were women who had had weight loss surgery previously and gained the weight back. And so as I'm having this conversation, I want to talk about my experience of the pros and cons of weight loss surgery. I'm also going to talk about, first of all, give that disclaimer that I am not a doctor, right? I am just someone who's really enthusiastic about wellness, and also I'm a personal trainer, right? So those are the things that I do. And, I'm a business professional, right? This is what I do. I just really am passionate about this. So let me give you my experience and the information I have. Done a lot of research. I've worked with a lot of women who'd had weight loss surgery previously. So the first thing we're talking about let's go through the pros of weight loss surgery first, right? One of the pros of weight loss surgery is that you lose weight. Whether it be the gastric sleeve or the gastric bypass or, whatever the different surgeries are to change the insides, right? So they're essentially either putting a clamp on it, and this is layman's terms, right? Putting some sort of clamp on it, or they're redirecting some things, right, in your digestive system, right? And so what that does is it helps you to take in less food, right? You don't feel hungry as much and things like that. So that's what happens, right? That's the process of weight loss surgery. And go and do additional research, because I'm giving it in like as a third, like if a third grader wanted to know what weight loss surgery was, that's what I just gave, right? So now let's talk about some of the pros. The pros are many times people lose weight and they lose it very fast. I'm talking like 100 pounds in a year, right? And for folks who are, especially someone who's in a dire situation, maybe they're like 500 pounds and they have diabetes and high cholesterol and all these things. Maybe, you know, they feel like that's the only option at the time. And so I always understand that. I've been 350 pounds, something close to that. And I had thought about it when I was that weight. I thought, man, maybe I should do this. But then I remember Carney Phillips doing it. I know this ages me. This really dates me, right? Because Carney Phillips was the first person I'd ever heard of having weight loss surgery. It was her and Al Roker, right? So when they did it, I remember they lost all this weight and they felt great. But then I remember over the years, they continued to gain weight back. And I thought, they did all this. Why on earth would they gain the weight back? Like, they had to go through a major surgery. And I remember thinking, man. And so when the doctors would come to me and say, you should have weight loss surgery, you should think about it, I'd be like, I don't think so. Like, as much as I wanted that solution, because it's a solution, it's a tool, right, that many folks use. And I will say, I am not biased. I'm a little biased to doing it naturally. And at the same time, I understand when people go and take that measure, right? So again, the pro, you lose weight very fast, right? You're not as hungry. So you can't eat as much. You don't end up eating as much food because you can't eat as much food, right? So that's another pro. And then also, you can feel better, right? Your numbers start to change. So usually when you lose a significant amount of weight like that, your diabetes numbers change, right? Your cholesterol, your high blood pressure, all those things change. And so that is major, right? Those are huge pros. It could literally be saving some people's lives. Now, that used to be the story where the person was like 400 pounds and, they had all these ailments, right? But now there's a lot of women and men who are having weight loss surgery when they're like 250 pounds because they just are tired of being that size and they just want to get the weight off. And so they do the weight loss surgery. Maybe they're 50 or 70 pounds overweight and they just do the surgery. I saw a woman who was 30 pounds overweight and I was like, are you serious? I think that's just drastic when people are 30 pounds overweight and they do it. But you know what? Everyone has their own journey, right? So anyways, there are those people. And there are people who are like 70 pounds overweight. Their doctor's been recommending it. And maybe they have some of those chronic illnesses and they feel like it's their last resort. I don't feel like it's the last resort, but I'm not them. I'm not on that journey with them. And I don't know what they've been through, right? So anyway, so that's when people do it and their numbers change and they start to feel healthier, at least for a while. Now let's go into the cons a little bit, right? Those are major pros, I gotta say, right? So now let's talk about the cons. One of the cons of weight loss surgery is that people don't really talk about is that most people gain the weight back. Like, that's the reason you got the surgery, to lose the weight and thinking that you'll keep it off. But most people, and I did this research because I had clients who had done it, right? And I was trying to figure out why so many women were coming to me after they'd had weight loss surgery and gained their weight back, right? And I was trying to figure out why so many people had gained their weight back. And I remember looking up a study, and I'll have to find it again, but it said like 67 or 70%, something like that, gain their weight back. 70%. That's 2/3, over 2/3 of the people who lose the weight through weight loss surgery gain it back. And I thought, man, so you go through all of that. Like, they got to open you up and do all this extra stuff. And then the weight comes back on. And so that's where it's always like, ooh, that's a huge con for me, because all those pros are because of the weight loss. So if the weight's coming back on, then that means everything that was in the pro category is back. And that's just not okay, right? But on top of gaining the weight back, what also happens is many people, they haven't changed the way they eat. So the reason that we were 350 pounds or 400 pounds or whatever that size is because of relationship with food, because of something we've gone through, some trauma, because of something we were told or taught. Eat everything on your plate, whatever that is, right? That's why that weight is there. And so if that hasn't been taken care of in this process of losing the weight comes back on. Honestly, that's whether you have weight loss surgery or not. But, even if you lost it naturally, it can come back if that hasn't fully been taken care of, or the habits, the regimens haven't been created, right? And so many people, they gain the weight back because of that. And so you haven't changed your relationship with food. That's a huge con, because there didn't need to be a change, right? Yes, you knew you had to eat less, but I will tell you, there's people who have weight loss surgery because after you have weight loss surgery, you can only eat certain things, right? Depending on the person. But a lot of people, if they eat foods that are too fatty, or too much sugar in it, or even dairy sometimes, they get sick, whether it be nauseous, vomiting, diarrhea. It can't happen, right? It's fully affecting them for the rest of their lives. And that is a huge issue. I often think I wouldn't want to do something that's going to impact me forever. Not in that way, right? And so now that's another con, that their body gets impacted, their digestive system is impacted, and so now they can't eat certain foods. And there's different types of weight loss surgery, right? So when you're looking at the gastric bypass and things like that, those were some of the you couldn't eat certain things afterwards. I've heard that the gastric sleeve is slightly different, where you can still eat those things because the sleeve is on there. But many times I've also heard from people where the sleeve malfunctioned, right? So it didn't work all the way. There are several people. I know there's a woman, what's her name? Keto something. I forgot her name. Oh my gosh. She was one of the first people I'd seen, talking about keto outside of me, right? And I think she was doing it before me, but I forgot her name. But either way, I remember she said that she had gotten the sleeve years ago, and the sleeve actually malfunctioned. So it wasn't even working for her anymore. So, there's different things like that, right? So there's the side effects around what you can eat and what you can't. There's also a situation where, for many people, what they do eat now, the nutrition is not absorbed in the same way. So their body isn't getting the nutrients that it needs. So they have to constantly take medications, tons of supplements, and all these different things. So their body is getting the nutrients that they need. So that's another con, is that many times your nutrition absorption or your nutrient absorption isn't what it used to be after this weight loss surgery. So that shifts even the way that your body is now functioning or working, right? I'm also someone who kind of feels like weight loss surgery hasn't been around long enough. And so I know this is one of my things, right? I'm this hasn't been around long enough. So I don't 100% know the pros and the cons, meaning I don't know the long-term effects. So I'm always thinking from that standpoint, what are the long-term effects? If I don't know the long-term effects, I'm a little afraid of it, right? That's why I don't take new medicine, right? I'll take Tylenol every so often, or ibuprofen, things that have been around for 100 years, right? But things that are relatively new, I get nervous about because we don't know the long-term side effects, right? I just did a whole video a few weeks ago about Ozempic, and you can go back and watch that video. But when I did that video, one of the things I talked about was the side effects that they're now finding from folks taking Ozempic. Ozempic is super new, right? And so now they're seeing those side effects, and people didn't know that was going to happen with them because they heard that it was safe. That, to me, that's another thing with the with weight loss surgery, is that it seems safe because there's so many people who have done it, but we don't know the long-term effects because, it is, 40 years old, 30 something years old. And so, that's always a little bit weird for me. I'm always concerned with things like that. That doesn't have to be your thing, though. You don't have to be concerned that that's something that I am. That's just who I am, right? So anyways, let's keep going. So we talked about people gaining their weight back. We talked about not being able to eat certain things afterwards. We talked about nutrition absorption. Now let's also talk about going back to gaining the weight back. It's harder to lose the weight the next time. right? So basically you had weight loss surgery, right? And when you had the weight loss surgery, you lost the weight, you felt good, all the things. And then slowly some things changed, some habits changed, and the weight came back, right? Now you're like, it's time to do it again. You can't, you did all these things and you want to be healthy again. All your numbers are back high and, all those things. You want to feel good again, right? So you go ahead and you start again. And you're like, what the heck? Why is it so much harder this time? And it's like, it feels like no matter what you do, whether you're doing keto or paleo or vegan or whatever, or juice diet, it just doesn't feel like it's coming off the way it used to. And part of that is because it changes your metabolism and your body chemistry. When you have weight loss surgery, it changes your digestive system. So now, and also we talked about nutrient absorption, right? These things together can also impact your metabolism. So now when it's time to lose the weight again, it also impacts hormones and all these things, right? So when it's time to lose the weight again, it's much harder. And you gotta be really patient, right? Really patient. I remember working with some of my clients, and at first I'm like, well, why aren't you losing the weight as fast as like all these other people? And they'd be like, well, I had weight loss surgery before. And I'm like, oh, no wonder. So then I'd have to have a different conversation, a very different conversation with this 33-year-old woman who had gained all her weight back and say, hey, it's going to take a little longer, right? 50 pounds in 6 months that we thought that we could do based on you being 32 and, that and all the other things that we'd kind of gone through to like estimate how long it would take for her to lose the weight. It's like, it's going to be longer now because we have to like really shift the way that your body is working again. And we've got to be really patient and really understand what's going to work for you in this body that you have now post weight loss surgery and gaining the weight back. So you definitely have to be patient now. If you've had weight loss surgery and gained the weight back, you've got to be patient. It's not going to be an overnight drop the weight again like it was last time. It's just a shift, and that's okay. It's just, you just got to know that, right? Because many times if we don't know that, then it's a recipe for disaster, like my son said it. My son said that in I did a video about apple fritters, and I was like, sometimes a recipe is great, and he's like, it's a recipe for a disaster. Sometimes you make a recipe and it turns out perfect. Sometimes
it's a recipe for a disaster.
And I'm like, what? I couldn't believe he said that. Anyways, but sorry, I digress. But yeah, so sometimes it's just going to take longer. So it's just understanding and knowing that, so that when you're going through it, it could take 2 years to lose the 50 pounds, right? Versus 6 months that it took before. So just be ready for that kind of stuff, right? And then the last thing is, well, 2 more things. One, when you lose the weight through weight loss surgery, many times when that weight is going down, so is that muscle. And you'll see another video that I'm doing here soon about, muscle composition and how it impacts weight loss. But when you lose muscle, basically muscle is there to kind of help strengthen the body. It also helps with metabolism, right? Like I just talked about, your metabolism is slower when you lose weight through weight loss surgery, or if you lose weight just not eating, or, stuff like that, right? The weight comes off, but there's also a lot of muscle that gets lost as well. And so muscle is really good at burning fat. The more muscle you have, usually the higher your metabolism is, right? Because it works together like that, right? And so, and you can do the research on that. I'm not gonna go into all the details, that's a lot. But when you have the muscle, it's like constantly working, constantly burning the fat. That's why you'll see someone who lost weight by like lifting weights or whatever, if they go off plan for like 2 or 3 months, it won't be a drastic change, right, in terms of their body weight and stuff. And because what happens is the muscle is still there burning the fat. As they stop lifting weights or whatever, and eventually they're going to gain the weight, right? But if they continue lifting weights even while eating off, that muscle stays, and so their metabolism is still relatively high. And though they may still gain weight, it won't be as drastic as if they weren't lifting weights anymore and weren't getting their protein and things like that. Because losing muscle mass really impacts metabolism and impacts weight loss majorly. That's why they say that's why when women get older, It's slower it takes longer to lose weight. Part of that is because we naturally are losing muscle mass every year. I've talked about this multiple times in multiple videos. Like every year after the age of 30, as a woman, we lose between 3 and 8% of muscle mass every single year. So now it'd be even more being lost when you lose a drastic amount of weight very fast without lifting any weights, without like really working on protein and muscle composition, and you lose all that weight very fast with something like weight loss surgery because you're just eating less food. Muscle is lost as drastically and as fast as the fat is lost. And so what happens is it leads to a slow metabolism. It leads to less muscle mass, and it's really hard to build that muscle mass back up. And that's what me and my clients had to do. The ones who had weight loss surgery, we had to work to build the muscle mass back up so that they could actually be burning fat and lose weight, right? And have the body they wanted. So anyways, the other thing is kind of the last thing when it comes to weight loss surgery that I'm going to talk about today. The last con is loose skin. So if you notice, when I lost weight, I had some loose skin, but not a whole ton. Like I ended up having to get a tummy tuck because I had this like extra skin in my lower belly, but that wasn't necessarily from the weight loss. It was actually more from 4 C-sections. And the last thing was a hernia repair that was botched, right? So that's why I had to have that done. If I hadn't had that hernia repair, I probably wouldn't have had any sort of skin removal because it really didn't need it drastically, right? And so my arms, I didn't have anything done. And so I still have a little bit there, but for the most part, my arms are in pretty good shape after losing all that weight, right? And my legs have always been a little extra, right? But it's not as drastic because I lost the weight exercising through and lifting weights and eating differently, right? And so when you lose the weight through weight loss surgery, like I said, remember that muscle mass is gone. Well, I mean, you're losing muscle as well. And that's where, you start to have a lot of loose skin. So almost everyone that has weight loss surgery ends up having to get skin removal, unless you don't have a ton of loose. Like the woman who I knew who had weight loss surgery to lose 30 pounds, she didn't have to have skin removal, right? No reason for it, right? It was only 30 pounds. But if you have 100 pounds to lose and you are losing the weight through weight loss surgery, likelihood is you're going to have quite a bit of loose skin, right? And so that's going to be a big deal. So I would say that's another con is after that weight loss surgery, you're also going to have skin removal surgery. So just another thing that's added to it. That said, I do want to kind of close this out with saying, I feel like you got to do what's right for you, right? I'm giving you information that I have and that I know of from people who, the experiences I've had with, probably over 100 women who had weight loss surgery that either came through my program or that I knew in life or, in real life, like my family members and stuff. That's the experiences that I've had with them, having conversations with them, getting to understand what's happening, but you get to make the decision for you, right? Every person is their own, right? And so I know for me, it wasn't right for me. Also, I was just afraid. I was also afraid to go under the knife like that because, I got 4 kids and I'm like, I don't know the risk, so all of these things, right? We all get to see what's right for us and make the decision that's right for us. So if you do feel like weight loss surgery is right for you, even, after we went through the pros and cons, do what you need to do, right? If you don't want to do weight loss surgery and you feel like you want to do something else, then I want you to go to ilekafalette.com, right? And get on my newsletter. I send out weekly tips, resources, tools, and strategies on how to live a healthier lifestyle. I also will connect you with several experts that are doing either weight loss coaching or challenges, health challenges. And I actually do a couple of challenges a year myself. So, you have resources and tools. And if you don't right now, I can connect you with some people that can help you on this journey. Because guess what? We can do this in the healthiest way possible, in the way that works for our own lifestyles. All right. So let's get healthy together. Let's keep this up. And I'm wishing you the best. All right. Be sure to subscribe and I'll see you guys in the next video.
Don't forget to subscribe. Be sure to watch my mom's next video. Okay.